Let's shed some light on some dark issues. Hi, everyone. This is your favorite Bible nerd, R.A. Sweeney. Welcome to Language of Life for Little Learners. Today, I want to talk about a couple related words in Hebrew. So the first one that I want to mention is actually the second one that comes up in Genesis as we are working our way through Genesis. But it's the word for light. So when we get to verse 3, we see it's the first thing that God says, and he says, "Let there be light," and there was light. And so the word there, it's a very, very simple one. It's or. Just like our word in English, or if I were to say I like this or that, in Hebrew, or means light. So if you guys want to say it with me, or means light. And it gets used in a few different ways that we'll dive into. But I also wanted to touch on there in the next verse. It brings up another word as an opposite of or, and it's the second time it's been used. We didn't talk about it when I was working through verse 2 of Genesis 1 because I wanted to kind of save it to go with this conversation. But it's the word darkness. So in verse 2 we see that darkness is over to home, and here we see in verse 4 that God is separating the light from the darkness. And so the word for darkness is, I've talked in a few others, you've got to get a little bit of, phlegm or like a sort of noise in there, but it is Khoshek. So if you guys want to say it with me, Khoshek means darkness. So or means light, Khoshek means darkness. And so I think it's really interesting because we see Khoshek, or darkness, is there before God starts speaking. It's coming out of Tehom, which we'll remember Tehom is like the opposite of Eden. So darkness is coming out of Tehom. It's over the surface of the chaotic and terrible waters until God starts speaking. And God says, all we have is Khoshek, I want some or. All we have is darkness, I want some light. And so he commands that light exist, and it separates the two. And so just like we see in English, you've got, light and darkness are kind of opposites, and they can't really exist together. So in some way that I can't really, in my mind, I don't have a concept for what would it look like if light and darkness were somehow fully contained within each other, like mixed with each other. Because it's not going to be like, a dim light or something like that. It's going to be full mixture or mingling of the two. And I don't know what that looks like. Like, I can't comprehend that. But at some point, they were just kind of like smooshed together into one concept, and God separates them out to be opposites that don't exist together, which we then go on to see that he calls the light day, and he calls the darkness night. And so then that kind of takes us in a different direction, because when I think light, I think of, there's a light shining on my face right now. There is, I go flip a switch and a light comes on. The sun is making light. Like, light is, the brightness around me. And darkness is the opposite of that. If I shut off the lights, darkness fills the space. It's just the absence of light. And yes, that's how it would be in Hebrew. But at the same time, they use it to describe day and night a little bit too. And so it's not the same words. So like when it says he called the darkness day, it doesn't say he called the or. That would be he called the light. It says he called the light day, and uses a different word there that we'll get into maybe at some other time. And same with darkness. He doesn't call the darkness darkness, he calls it night, and it's a different word that gets used there. And so in that way, it's saying like this isn't just light and darkness, it's also time. The time that is ruled by light and the time that is ruled by the darkness. And so that kind of overlaps with our concepts a little bit. Like, it's bright out, we think day. It's dark out, we think night. But we typically, I don't think we connect those ideas quite as much as they do in Hebrew. So light can refer to the actual light itself, or it could be the time ruled by light. Kind of like light time and dark time instead of daytime and nighttime, isn't outside the realm of understanding these. And then it can also, when we're talking about light, we can follow some of the ways that we use light as a metaphor in English. So if I have an idea, you might say that like the light bulb clicked on in my mind. That exact saying doesn't follow into Hebrew because they didn't have light bulbs, obviously. But the same idea, the verb form of light is yara, means to make something light. Or to illuminate something. And so like if I want to explain something to you, I could say I'm illuminating this concept to you. If I just really understand things, you might say I am enlightened in that subject. So light can also be related to knowledge and understanding and teaching and things like that, which actually builds into a really very, very common wordplay we see in Hebrew, that God will yora, which is just a conjugation of that verb form of light. So he is illuminating, he's teaching, he's making able to see something, and that rhymes with Torah, which is his wisdom teaching, the wisdom that he imparts to people, so that they can live wisely. And so we see this all throughout the Bible. There is this idea of light is understanding. It's being able to see. It is helping me to, light my path before me, to be able to judge what's before me and understand things better. All those ideas come to this idea of light. And then darkness, likewise, is the opposite of that. It's, if I'm in the dark about something is a common English turn of phrase, like I didn't know about it, I was in the dark. In Hebrew, the same concept at least would apply. They might not use that exact same phrasing. I've never seen that phrasing in Hebrew, but the same idea of like everything is darkness before me means I don't know what's ahead. Darkness is an obscurer. It is something that makes it where I don't see, I don't know, I don't understand, all with that darkness. And so there's a lot that goes into those ideas of light and darkness, whether it is literally just light and darkness, whether it is daytime, nighttime, whether it's understanding, not understanding, seeing, not seeing, all of those sorts of things, and a whole lot more. But at least for some basic ideas, that's what we should be thinking of with the terms light, which is or, and darkness, which is khoshek. So I hope that was a blessing, and hope you guys are enjoying this series. Please subscribe so you can make sure that you're catching all the Hebrew and Greek language that we're going to be diving into. Share with any of your friends that you think might enjoy this. Otherwise, we will see you next time. Thanks, everyone.